Okay, so welcome to the stream. Today I will be casting Galactica and Cezz against Lord Grigor and Feldherr Tobi in the 2-2 Deathmatch tournament. This time game 1 is apparently on Enders, so usually it should be Great Plains, but they went with Enders. Maybe there was some confusion. But it shouldn't matter, as long as they both agree, it's fine for me either way. So, from my point of view, the favorites going into this match are Galactica and Cezz. They are pretty good 3D player and they also played some deathmatch occasionally, so they know their build orders and they are pretty hard to kill and their late game is really good, so I expect them to win. Also, Cezz Portuguese is really annoying to play against. He just makes a lot of goons and runs around the map all the time, so he can be very obnoxious with it. And that's what we are probably going to see. And I hope, yeah, I think it should be good. I was just checking if my sound was decent. And yeah, so maybe about the playstyle of Galactica. So he's very famous for his walls, so he just walls everything he can, and he starts walling off very early, which is pretty annoying to play against, but it's also pretty effective, so who am I to blame? In my opinion, they are all a bit slow, so they should be a bit faster, usually at 130. You can expect, especially a Spain player, if he's going for the Archaic Rush, he would be in his face with 200 population right now, and I don't think Otto would have the units to deal with it, so that would have been an option for Lord Grigor. Yeah, other than that, there's not a lot going on, so they are all just building up their stuff at the moment, so not a lot of rushing and aggression going on. So I think we have a moment to check the decks and see if there might... Okay. Can I not check? Okay, I cannot check the deck this way. I'm sorry, guys. Pretty standard 3D deck, so a lot of late game cards for Tobi, which is decent. I wouldn't probably use this. I mean, maybe it's decent. Maybe there's something to it. Gatling Camels is not a unit I personally like, so I would use this, but I think for the most part the deck looks good. It's decent. Let's just check Grigor's deck. He has Spanish Gold. I wouldn't ever use the Grenadiers. I think they are reversed units still in the game, so I wouldn't bother using them. The Theaters, so to get Rodents. Maybe. I'm also not a fan of this. Also, you're usually not using Outlaws Spanish. I mean, with Spanish, you usually have a lot of coin stacked up, so it might make sense to use Outlaws. But I typically would prefer just make cannons because they're a lot more useful than Outlaws. Now the attack starts. They are deciding to go for Feldherr Tobi with all their units, so I think it's a good decision usually to group up on one. This way you are oftentimes, if the coordination is not too well, you're just getting insane trades. I think Feldherr Tobi is not at 200 population, and you can clearly see that he's not, because he is trading very bad. Those two heavy cannons, they just clean up so many of those bowman guys. Oh, did you see? Did you see the Gatling camels? Oh, those were value Gatling cannons. So they didn't achieve anything. So I think I know why I don't bother with them usually. Some decent cover in micro, so he killed 2. Sadly, they started or they had to pop in a position where they are getting killed by the Dragoons. So that's also very bad. Some attacks going on Lord Grigor. Factory going down. Galactica is attempting to build a Rex there. I don't know if he's achieving that. Yeah, well, okay. So I guess that's just that game. So it looked pretty bad for the other guys, for Lord Grigor and for Feldherr Tobi. So I assume they lose. Sadly, I cannot do anything about the game going out of sync. So it happens pretty consistently, but I don't know the reason. I also don't know what to do against it. So if you know, maybe you can tell me. But I personally can only say I'm sorry. I'm sorry that that happens. And I would prefer if the replays are not broken and we could just watch until the end of the game. But for me already, I think the game they were in a commanding position, so they got so much map control. They were in the face of Tobi, who couldn't really get out his army and thus was training very bad, very inefficiently. So if you're fighting with 200 population against 100, what typically happens is you're just never going to trade well. So I think they would have just lost in the next 5 minutes anyway. So I'm sorry, guys, but now Frosty, your games will be the next games. So after this set, I will cast Aegif and Nahoibok against Frosty and Matthew. Those should be some good games, and I hope the replays are not broken. If not, then Frosty, you would have to upload your point of view to YouTube maybe, or send it to me. Maybe I can cast it this way. Yeah, but anyway, on the second map, so I think Andes maybe was the second map. I don't know, but the date said that the other game was played first. So the Andes game was played first and the Great Plains game was played second. So I assumed that was the order in which they played. Maybe the naming just trolled me there. So I don't know. This game we have Russians, so I'm always confused about the Germans or Russians, but these are Russians. And oh no, of course they're Germans and French against Russia and Ottoman. Personally, I would prefer playing Germans on this map, just because you have so strong cav. French is also a great pick because of the natives. And Cezz, he learned the build order. I know. Check. So he's doing the exact build order that I do. I mean, I send mortars first, but he's essentially doing the same build order as I do. So I expect this game to be very quick, to be honest. Because Ottoman is a great civilization, but for a variety of reasons. But they're not very great at defending a German war wagon rush. I mean, you can defend that, but there's very little room for error, and at this point, the room of error is already reached. So not starting with cav is usually just GG, I think. So I don't think that will be a long game too. So yeah, oh, a factory is going up here. Maybe we see a factory snipe. I mean, it's a factory snipe, so they have at least one factory snipe. Galactica and Cezz. I would have to check what they reported, but they have at least one factory snipe. Feldherr Tobi, he's attempting to save his teammate, but he will be under a lot of pressure by France. France has a decent matchup against Russia, I think, because Russia doesn't have the best anti-cav. So against a lot of gendarmes, they tend to struggle a bit, in my opinion. I mean, they're not as bad as China, but could be better. So yeah, so this defense is not going to happen. I don't think, no. On the other side, Tobi is... I mean, it's very hard to break 7 blockhouses. So he's defending there. So maybe if he's getting momentum up, then they might do something. But oh, I think those 50 Strelets killed one Ulan. So that was pretty one-sided. So if you're ever wondering what counters Strelets, Millicav and Artillery is pretty good against Strelets. So yeah, so that happened here. Also, Cezz is doing the right thing, so he's not giving him any room to breathe. So he's immediately following up and destroying all the villagers. I think he killed all the villagers, so rebuilding walls here is not what he wanted to do with your 2 last remaining villagers. By the way, what kind of deck is this? Okay. So that's usually not what you want to do. And yeah, he basically destroyed everything already, so now it should be a 2-on-1. And Feldherr Tobi also seemed to have lost the 1-on-1 on his side. So I think this game is over, so I'm sorry guys, I'm not seeing it. I'm just speeding this up. He's out already, Lord Grigor, he calls it. Feldherr Tobi is playing a bit for good measure, which I think is a good decision. But for me, there's no way that he's ever going to... He's getting a factory kill, so that's what he tried to do. He's having some fun. Knowing Galactica, so... A for effort. I don't think from the start, like, from the strategic decisions or build orders, I don't know, it's like if you, for example in Supremacy, if you're going for... As Japan, you go for Heavy Shrine Boom against an Iroquois rush, then you just die after 5 minutes, and that's exactly what happened here. So War Wagon Rush just straight up kills Ottoman if they are not... if they have a bad build order. So, and even if they have a decent build order, it's very hard to defend anyway. I think Germans is a very good matchup against Ottoman. So yeah. Let's just write it to Thiefy. Okay, so let's get into the next game. We have Matthew and Frosty against HF and Book. I think they should be one of the highest level games in the tournament, so I am expecting a lot from these guys. Have I... yeah. So let me just check. I find it here. I hope they do have the 17, 19... Let's just hope I open the right one. So usually what